Have you ever wondered why some of the most intelligent people you know seem to avoid crowds, big gatherings, or constant social interaction? At first glance, it might look like arrogance or even loneliness, but in reality, many of them find deeper meaning in solitude. Let me ask you, do you personally feel more drained or more energized after long social events? Share your answer in the comments. It will be interesting to see how differently people experience this. Schopenhauer, the German philosopher, believed that highly intelligent individuals often retreat from social life because they experience the world on a deeper level. For them, small talk feels empty, gossip seems pointless, and superficial relationships quickly lose their charm. While the average person may enjoy constant social contact, the thinker prefers silence, books, or nature, where the mind can roam freely without distraction. Think about it like this. When someone has a highly tuned sense of hearing, loud noise becomes unbearable. In the same way, people with sharp intellects often find the noise of social life overwhelming. It's not that they hate people, it's that they value their energy and time. Instead of spreading themselves thin across dozens of shallow connections, they prefer a few meaningful relationships, or sometimes none at all. So as we step into this discussion, keep one idea in mind. Fleeing from social life doesn't always mean running from people. It can mean running toward clarity, focus, and peace. And by the end of this video, if you feel the message speaks to you, write seductive wisdom in the comments. That way I'll know you're someone who values depth over noise. 1. The weight of shallow conversations. We all know what it feels like to sit in a room full of chatter, where people are speaking endlessly but saying very little. For most, small talk is harmless and even enjoyable. It's a way to bond, pass time, and feel connected. But for those with sharper intellect, shallow conversations can feel like a heavy burden. Instead of feeding the mind, they drain it, leaving behind a sense of emptiness. Schopenhauer argued that ordinary people are content with ordinary talk because it reflects the ordinary concerns of daily life. Discussions about money, gossip, or trivial events are enough to keep them satisfied. But for someone seeking truth, beauty, or wisdom, such exchanges only highlight the gap between what the world talks about and what truly matters. It's not arrogance, it's hunger for substance. Imagine an artist forced to discuss paint prices when all they want to explore is the meaning of art, or a scientist cornered into conversations about the weather, while their mind burns with questions about the universe. These scenarios may seem harmless, but repeated daily, they become suffocating. This is why intelligent people often retreat. They'd rather have silence than noise disguised as conversation. Modern psychology supports this idea. Studies show that people with higher intelligence often report discomfort in overly social environments, especially when conversations lack depth. It's not that they dislike others, rather their brains crave stimulation that everyday talk rarely provides. Silence, reading, or reflection feels far more rewarding than discussing the latest trends. This disconnect can create misunderstandings. To outsiders, the quiet person at the edge of the party may look unfriendly or detached. In reality, they're simply filtering, choosing not to waste energy on words that carry little meaning. It's a conscious choice to protect their mental focus, much like choosing healthy food over empty calories. Schopenhauer himself described social life as a theater of distraction, where people act roles instead of revealing their true selves. Shallow conversation is the stage script, and the thinker quickly grows tired of the play. To them, solitude is not loneliness, but a chance to step away from the performance and return to authenticity. So the next time you see someone quietly avoiding small talk, consider that it might not be rudeness, it might be a sign of deeper priorities. They could be searching for meaning in ways the average conversation can't provide. In their silence, they may actually be engaging in a dialogue far richer, one with their own thoughts. Now let me ask you, do you enjoy small talk or do you find it exhausting? Share your answer in the comments because your perspective will show just how differently people experience the weight of shallow conversations. 2. Why solitude fuels deeper thinking. Solitude has always been a companion to thinkers. When people step away from the constant noise of society, they give their minds the chance to wander freely. Schopenhauer believed that solitude was not a curse but a blessing for the intelligent, because it allowed space for reflection, creativity, and genuine understanding. Without interruptions, the mind begins to connect ideas that normally remain scattered. Think of a philosopher walking alone through a quiet forest. Every step allows the mind to process questions about life, death, and meaning. Compare that to sitting in a noisy cafe, where distractions break every train of thought. It's not surprising that many great discoveries, inventions, and works of art were born during periods of solitude. From Newton's reflections during isolation to poets who wrote in silence, history proves the power of being alone. Psychology also confirms this. Studies show that solitude can increase creativity, problem-solving, and focus. When we are not pressured to respond to others, our brain accesses deeper levels of thinking. It's like a lake. When disturbed, the water ripples, but when calm, it reflects clearly. For intelligent individuals, solitude provides that calm surface where truths appear. Of course, solitude can be uncomfortable at first. Many people associate it with loneliness or boredom because they are used to external stimulation. But those who embrace it often find it transforms into strength. Instead of fearing silence, they start to crave it. Instead of dreading time alone, they see it as an opportunity to recharge and realign. Schopenhauer argued that ordinary people avoid solitude because it confronts them with themselves. Intelligent people, however, welcome it because they find richness in their own thoughts. They don't need constant chatter to feel alive. Their inner world is vast enough to provide meaning. This doesn't mean they reject others entirely, but that they know when to step away to protect their mental clarity. Examples of this are easy to find. Writers often retreat to cabins, monks retreat to mountains, and scientists retreat to laboratories. These choices are not escapes from life, but journeys into deeper life. Each moment of solitude becomes an investment in their intellect and soul. Without such moments, their insights might never surface. For modern life, the lesson is clear. Solitude isn't outdated. In a world of constant notifications and endless noise, taking time alone is more valuable than ever. Even a short walk without your phone or an hour in a quiet room can sharpen your mind. Solitude fuels thinking the way air fuels fire. It allows thoughts to burn brighter. So let me ask you, when was the last time you truly embraced solitude without distractions? Did it feel uncomfortable or refreshing? Share in the comments because your reflection might inspire someone else to reclaim the gift of being alone. 3. The noise of society versus the silence of the mind. Everywhere we go, society surrounds us with noise. Conversations, advertisements, opinions, and constant digital alerts. For most people, this is the rhythm of daily life. But for those who think more deeply, this noise becomes suffocating. Schopenhauer believed that intelligent individuals long for silence, not because they dislike people, but because silence gives the mind space to breathe. Think about walking through a crowded city street. Your senses are attacked by horns, chatter, and flashing lights. Now compare that with sitting alone in a quiet park. The difference is not just external, It changes the quality of your thoughts. In noise, your mind scatters. In silence, your mind gathers. This is why silence feels like nourishment for thinkers, while noise often feels like theft of their focus. Psychological studies support this view. Constant noise and overstimulation have been shown to raise stress levels, reduce concentration, and weaken memory. By contrast, periods of quiet restore the brain's ability to focus and think clearly. For the intelligent person, this isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Their insights depend on silence the way plants depend on sunlight. Schopenhauer often criticized social life as a theater of distraction. In his view, society constantly pushes individuals to conform, gossip, or chase shallow goals. Silence, by contrast, allows one to hear the authentic self. In solitude and quiet, questions about purpose, morality, and truth rise to the surface, questions that noise tries to bury. Real-life examples make this clear. Many writers and thinkers describe escaping society for retreats in nature. Henry David Thoreau famously withdrew to Walden Pond, while others like Einstein valued solitary walks for clarity. Even modern entrepreneurs credit silent mornings or meditation practices for their creativity. Silence is not emptiness. It is the soil where deep thought grows. But silence is not easy for everyone. For many, it feels uncomfortable, even frightening, because it confronts them with themselves. This is why so many people fill every moment with music, chatter, or scrolling. The intelligent, however, learn to embrace silence as a companion rather than an enemy. To them, silence is not loneliness, it is freedom. Choosing silence doesn't mean abandoning society completely. Intelligent people still engage when necessary, but they do so on their own terms. They return to the world with insights shaped in the quiet. This balance allows them to contribute meaningfully without being drowned by the noise. So let me ask you, do you find silence calming, or does it make you uneasy? Share your thoughts in the comments, because how we relate to silence often reveals how deeply we're willing to know ourselves. 4. Intelligence and the search for meaningful bonds. Not all relationships hold the same weight. For many people, social life is about numbers. How many friends, how many followers, how many connections. But intelligent individuals often view relationships differently. Schopenhauer argued that the higher the intellect, the fewer the friendships, because the wise seek quality over quantity. They prefer one meaningful bond over 100 shallow ones. Think of a diamond versus pebbles. Both are stones, but one holds immense value because of its rarity. In the same way, an intelligent person looks for conversations that nourish the soul, not just fill the silence. They crave authenticity, honesty, and depth. A discussion about ideas, values, or life's purpose excites them far more than endless chatter about trivial matters. Psychological research backs this up. Studies show that people with higher intelligence often report lower satisfaction from casual socializing, but greater satisfaction from deep, intimate conversations. This doesn't mean they dislike people. It means their social needs are different. Where most people look for entertainment, they look for truth. Of course, this search for depth comes at a cost. Meaningful bonds are rare, and finding someone who shares the same values or intellectual hunger can feel like searching for a needle in a haystack. That's why many intelligent people endure long periods of solitude. They would rather wait for real connection than settle for empty companionship. Examples of this can be seen throughout history. Philosophers, scientists, and artists often form small but profound friendships. Think of Socrates surrounded by a handful of students, or Einstein writing letters to a few trusted colleagues. These relationships weren't numerous, but they shaped entire generations. The impact of one meaningful bond often outweighs the noise of countless acquaintances. There is also a protective instinct at play. Intelligent people know that shallow relationships can drain energy and distort focus. They guard their time carefully, much like guarding a treasure. To others, this may look cold or distant, but in reality, it's discipline. They understand that who you spend time with shapes your mind, and they refuse to compromise on that. For modern life, this lesson is clear. It's not about how many people are at your dinner table, but about the quality of the conversation when you sit down. One honest, supportive friend is more valuable than dozens of casual contacts. The intelligent recognize this truth and shape their lives accordingly. So let me ask you, do you value having many friends, or do you prefer just a few deep, meaningful bonds? Share your answer in the comments. It will be interesting to see where most people place their priorities in relationships. 5. When withdrawal becomes strength, not weakness. In most societies, withdrawing from constant social activity is seen as weakness. People assume that someone who avoids gatherings or prefers to stay alone must be lonely, shy, or incapable of fitting in. Schopenhauer turned this view upside down. For him, withdrawal was not a sign of weakness but of inner strength. It showed that a person had enough independence to stand apart from the crowd, and enough depth to be content with their own company. Think about it. Anyone can blend into a noisy group, laugh at jokes they don't find funny, or follow trends just to feel accepted. That takes no effort. But it requires courage to step back and say, "This doesn't serve me. I'd rather be alone." Intelligent individuals often choose this path, not because they hate people, but because they respect their time and mental energy. Psychologists call this self-differentiation, the ability to hold on to your identity even when surrounded by pressure to conform. People with higher levels of this trait are less dependent on others for validation. They don't fear being left out because they find satisfaction within themselves. For Schopenhauer, this was a mark of true wisdom, the ability to walk alone without feeling incomplete. History gives us many examples. Writers like Franz Kafka and Emily Dickinson produced timeless works from solitude. Scientists like Nikola Tesla often withdrew from social life to focus on their research. Their withdrawal was not isolation, it was concentration. What others mistook for weakness was the very reason behind their strength and productivity. There's also a spiritual layer to this idea. Many religious traditions praise solitude as a way to connect with deeper truths. In Islam, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, spent long periods of reflection in the cave of Hira before revelation. In Christianity, monks withdrew to monasteries to seek clarity. Withdrawal, when done with purpose, has always been a path to strength. Of course, not all withdrawal is healthy. If it is driven by fear, trauma, or despair, it can harm more than help. But when it is chosen consciously, it becomes a shield. Intelligent people learn to withdraw not as escape, but as strategy, protecting their focus from the distractions of shallow living. This is why their solitude often produces wisdom rather than emptiness. In today's world, where constant social activity is celebrated, choosing withdrawal can feel rebellious. Yet it's exactly this choice that allows individuals to see clearly while others are lost in noise. Strength doesn't always roar in crowds. Sometimes it whispers in quiet rooms. So let me ask you, have you ever chosen to withdraw from a group or situation because you knew it wasn't worth your energy? Did you feel stronger for doing it? Share your answer in the comments. It may inspire others to see withdrawal not as weakness, but as a form of strength. 6. Lessons from Schopenhauer for our modern lives. Schopenhauer lived in the 19th century, but his ideas about solitude and society still feel strikingly relevant today. In an age of smartphones, constant notifications, and endless social media, the noise he criticized has only grown louder. Intelligent people often find themselves overwhelmed by this non-stop stimulation and, like Schopenhauer suggested, feel the urge to step back. His lesson is clear: silence and solitude are not outdated, they are more necessary now than ever. One modern application of his thought is digital minimalism. Many thinkers today recommend limiting time online, turning off notifications, and carving out space for reflection. This mirrors Schopenhauer's call to escape shallow distractions. Just as he avoided crowded social life, the modern thinker avoids the digital crowd. By doing so, they protect their mental energy for deeper work and meaningful connections. Another lesson lies in redefining success. Society often praises popularity, visibility, and constant networking, but Schopenhauer reminds us that wisdom sometimes grows in the opposite direction: in stillness, in small circles, and in independence. For those who measure success by depth rather than applause, his philosophy gives permission to live differently. Psychology supports this shift. Studies on deep work show that focus and creativity thrive when distractions are minimized. Similarly, research on well-being shows that having a few close relationships is more satisfying than chasing endless acquaintances. Schopenhauer anticipated these truths. He knew that meaningful living required filtering out noise and guarding one's attention. There's also a moral lesson here. By withdrawing from shallow pursuits, intelligent people are not just protecting themselves, they are setting an example. They remind others that it's possible to live thoughtfully in a noisy world. Their solitude becomes not selfishness, but a form of resistance against a culture that glorifies constant distraction. At the same time, Schopenhauer teaches balance. He did not say we must all become hermits. Engagement with society has its place, but it should not consume us. The key is to know when to connect and when to step away, when to speak and when to remain silent. This balance makes solitude a strength instead of isolation. For our daily lives, the takeaway is simple: create intentional space for silence. That might mean reading instead of scrolling, walking instead of chatting, or reflecting instead of rushing. In those quiet spaces, insights grow, priorities become clear, and life feels less like noise and more like meaning. So let me ask you, in today's busy world, what habit helps you protect your solitude and focus? Share it in the comments. You might give someone else the practical idea they need to bring Schopenhauer's wisdom into their own life. Schopenhauer's insights remind us that solitude is not a curse but a choice, a conscious decision to value depth over noise. In a world that constantly pushes us toward busyness and endless interaction, his philosophy offers a refreshing perspective. Stepping back from social life can create the space needed to think, to grow, and to connect with what truly matters. We've seen how shallow conversations, meaningless gatherings, and social distractions often drain intelligent people, yet when they retreat, it is not weakness, it is strength. Their withdrawal protects their energy, sharpens their minds, and allows them to focus on pursuits that bring lasting fulfillment instead of fleeting entertainment. For us today, the lesson is simple but powerful. Create room for silence in your life. Whether through reading, walking, or just sitting in thought, solitude can be a source of clarity. By embracing moments away from the crowd, you may discover parts of yourself that constant noise had been drowning out. At the same time, Schopenhauer reminds us that relationships still matter, but only the meaningful ones. One honest bond is worth far more than dozens of shallow ones. This wisdom is as relevant now as ever, in an age where numbers often seem more important than substance. So as we end this discussion, I'll leave you with a challenge. How will you bring more solitude into your daily life? And if this message resonated with you, write seductive wisdom in the comments. That way I'll know you stayed with me until the end, and together we'll build a community that values depth over distraction.